Welcome to Rick's Corner, where we talk wrestling, bodybuilding, and more.
With the audience, and there was another thing. Now there was another little situation that me and Rick had. We were both the same size. We both worked out. We both had curly hair. We both had mustaches. And people used to mistake us for each other in the ring. So one guy I really had to work hard to become a real mean heel because he had to be a real baby, because we almost looked the same. So it worked twice as hard, but yet we still did it. So the idea is you always have to know how to move under the circumstances, you know? You have to learn, and only that comes from time in the ring, right? Like you did years and years. It doesn't matter whether you get beat up for a long time. You're learning.
Oh, yeah. You might find a whole year getting beat and losing to somebody else, and it doesn't matter. Because,
but you're learning.
But you're learning. You're making that person look good. Then your time comes in order to be put over. And the other thing is that the thing that he talks about, getting it, when you finally understand what it's about, it takes a long time to understand that. I have students here that want to get in the ring and wrestle. They have matches coming up, and they want to do a billion things in a match. They want to do this and jump over here and do that, which means absolutely nothing.
You're absolutely right. I got it, for instance, for you. You'll love this. Conan and Mando Guerrero were working, and they were doing high spot after high spot after high spot, and they were doing every crazy thing you could do. Somersaults off the top, falling, doing this, doing that. It meant nothing after a while. It was like counting numbers. Like, oh, that was the 17th high spot. That was the 27th high spot. Okay, Chief and I had a feud going where I hated him, and he hated me, and we just hated each other. We went out there, we almost had a riot. And the guys come back to me, how did you do that? I said, we worked.
Yeah. You worked.
You worked, and we listened to the people.
And you didn't do that much.
No, a lot less. We probably did 1/5 of the stuff that the other guys did, and everything was like crazy. The people just go completely nuts because everything meant something. If you do 1,000 punches, it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
You know, you do 1, 2, 3 punches, and the guy's on the floor. That means a lot.
Right.
You know, now, do you realize like a suplex years ago was a finishing move?
Yeah.
Now it's like a warm-up to get to your next warm-up to get to your next warm-up.
Well, there'd be a drop kick and a pin.
Right. It was a finishing move. Do you know, one time I wrestled a guy that was Hans the Haas. Do you remember him? He was like a Green Beret. And it was like nobody wanted to wrestle him, and they said, oh, we'll have a good match. He knows karate and everything, and he looked good. He looked like Magnum TA from the movies, you know?
Yeah.
So I said, oh, we'll have a match, and it was like in one of the arenas. I forgot whether, I think it may have been San Bernardino. So I said, you know what I want to do? I want to finish this match with a drop kick. I said, I'm going to go into the rope and torpedo you. I knocked him out with the drop kick. He goes, that was a real drop kick. I said, yeah, I only gave you one. So it's 1 potato versus your 25 potatoes you gave me.
That's right.
So
yeah.
I said, he goes, but it was great. And nobody knew that night that was his first match. That because everything he did looked good. And he only did a few things, but it all looked good. And that's all that counts. He only had that one match. I don't even think he had a second match after that. But he looked good that night.
What happened to him?
He went back. He was a private investigator,
Oh.
and he actually became a full-time private investigator.
Yeah, well, we had guys in the ring that were wrestlers that had full-time jobs. We had football coaches,
right?
We had chiropractors,
right? Lifeguards,
yeah. And people had full-time careers, but their night job was wrestling because this is what they had a passion for. It wasn't even about the money; they just wanted to work.
We always had policemen as referees. Always. I think we had like four or five, right?
Well, there's Dugan. There was the Car 54 guys.
Car 54, right?
Hank Matheny was
Hank Matheny,
yeah,
right?
There's 4 cops right there.
Yeah. It was amazing, yeah, and it was unbelievable that we had such a group of people, and then we had funny promoters.
Yeah,
we always had great promoters.
Well, you still have those today.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Joe Palumbo was a great promoter.
Yeah, he was a little short guy that smoked a big cigar.
Edward G. Robinson type.
Yeah, a cartoon character, and but he did run shows and he did draw people and he did. Yes,
he made the best effort.
Right.
Yeah, and Herb Abrams tried, but he overshot himself because he tried to compete with Vince. Right. So he was, but he tried. He tried really hard. He brought in a lot of great talent, and he really tried to do a plush thing.
One of the best promoters, one of the most honest, was Carl Lauer.
Carl Lauer was honest.
Carl Lauer was an honest guy. He ran good shows. He was straight up with the boys, and he really put his heart into it, and I really admired him for that. He was always a decent human being, a really good guy.
No, good man.
He still teases me about one interview he did, and he says, how do you like wrestling for CCW? I said, everything's good except the payoffs. Where's my check, Carl? I still haven't received it. No, his payouts were fine, but I used to tease him about that. It's not like it used to be.
Carl was great because I got to tell you a story about Carl. I don't even know whether you knew about this. Because I think to this day his wife doesn't know, so he'll get thrown out after I do this interview. Carl Lauer was my manager as the boss man under a hood. And he said,
I remember that.
he says, I want to be a manager so bad. I have to do this. I said, you could do it. Tonight you're the boss man. And you were in the ring with him.
That's
right?
right.
And he got tangled in the ropes and
That's
everything.
right.
I said, this was great. It was a great night. So, Carl, you're exposed. Sorry, Carl.
Okay, Carl. It's no kayfabe on you anymore. This is it.
No kayfabe.
That's
it's
right.
a shoot now.
That's right. Speaking of kayfabe, that's a lost thing because a lot of the guys today, a lot of you young guys probably don't even know what kayfabe means. Kayfabe was a word that was used in wrestling to shut people up. I mean, if we were working a match and someone walked into the dressing room, kayfabe, you don't talk about it. You kept the business a secret, like magic. You kept it a secret. You didn't take it home and talk about it. You didn't talk about it with your friends. Some of you guys email me, you say, what are they? They really don't punch. They really don't kick. They really don't do this. You know what? It's none of your business what we do. Unless you're a wrestler and you get in the ring, then you get in there and see how hard it is. Even if you think it's easy, and even if you think it's fake, get in there and see how hard you get hit and how much it hurts. You don't want to kill somebody. You have to work every night, but you do put your time in, and you do have injuries. We both have tons of injuries. Yeah. We hurt standing in line, taking the money to the bank, like he says, because the money is so heavy from the payoffs that it weighs the knees down. But it's something. It's an art to it. You just don't get in the ring and say, I'm going to be a wrestler.
But you know, there's one thing that we could both say, and I know Rick thinks the same way I do, that even though we got all the injuries, we've had shoulder injuries, back injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries, ankle injuries, arm injuries, fist injuries, hands injuries,
well, there's
neck
the hand
injuries.
There's no finger that one.
You see, some people go extreme. He was the first ECW on that. But the thing was that we wouldn't do, we would never change one thing.
What, my underwear?
That's the only thing you change. And you better change it too, let me tell you. Yeah. But the funny thing is we had a great time doing it. And I don't know whether the guys nowadays have camaraderie like we did, but we actually accumulated a lot of real friends from the business. So when we go to Cauliflower Alley Club convention and the dinner, it's like, I was there, like this last one, I was there in 6 hours. I must have covered 80 people that I knew and worked with on the road that I didn't see in 10 and 15, 20 years, 30 years. And it's like amazing thing because you actually were friends. You lived in the car with them. You went to the restaurants with them. You lived in the hotels with them. Everything was that. Everybody depended on everybody. Now I think it's a completely different story.
Different.
I don't even know whether they know each other.
In fact, you should check out caulifloweralleyclub.org. That's the club of all the ex-wrestlers and boxers. They have a huge membership. They get together once a year in Vegas for 3 days, and they have matches, and they have food, and they have a get-together. And there's a lot of old-timers there that you new guys should join and go and meet everybody because it's a stepping stone to the next stuff. And they have people who will critique your wrestling and help you with it. Harley Race is one of them.
Harley Race is there, yeah.
You know, Nicky Bockwinkel, all those guys. They're all good guys, and they want to help today's youth become what they want to become. And they've been asking me to come every year. I'm going to go in 2010 and talk and meet people and push what we do as well because it's a good organization and you get a lot out of it. caulifloweralleyclub.org. We're both members. They send a newsletter out and it's worthwhile. It's really a good thing to do. If you want to be a wrestler, that's where you got to go. And like Jack and I say, I mean, if this is what you want to do for wrestling, learn it, but learn it the right way. Put your time in. And those guys that are doing indie shows now, don't do a million things in the ring. A lot of you send me your videos. One sent me one that he wanted to show the TNA and WWE, and I told him not to because I didn't even see him in the ring. He was on the other side of the ring on the ground most of the time. The camera guy was all over the place. He didn't catch him. He didn't work to the camera. That's another thing. You got to work to the camera. Project your character. Let us see who you are. Eye contact, facial expression. It's not just throwing people around.
Right. It's a whole study. It's a whole acting thing. You know what? It's like being a stage actor. It's like being on the New York stage every single night, except you're taking bumps and getting hits. That's the only difference between it.
Well, it's like ballet with violence.
But pretty much.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Pretty much that's what it is.
And